All right, lesson 1.2, the economic theory. We have some key terms here also. What's economic theory? Marginal. We're going to use that a lot all semester. Microeconomics, macroeconomics, and what are markets? What exactly does that mean? First of all, learning objective 1 is the goal of economic theory. That word theory always made me think that things were really important or you had to be really smart to understand them. But we're taking things baby steps at a time, so don't stress. So economics develop theories or models to help explain economic behavior. The economic theory, it's our first key word, key term. Your economic model, which is simplification of economic reality, used to make predictions about the real world. So that's the basics. What are we going to use? What model? What form? What idea? Which is a simplification. We're going to really simplify things. What are we going to use to make predictions about the real world? So our goal is to make predictions about the real world. That's what economists do. They make predictions about what's going on in the world. So first, to do that, you need to simplify the problem. You can't have things very complicated to make theories about things. So you have to simplify what you're talking about. A theory cannot involve every detail or every relationship, every nitpicky little thing. A theory can't involve it all. You have to simplify it. The more detailed a theory gets, the more confusing it becomes, and the less useful it's going to be. No one's going to pay attention to you if you start talking with lots and lots of details, lots and lots of things going on. I know when my kids tell me stories, and the stories go on for more than a minute or so, I just look at them, I'm like, get to the point. You need to really just simplify it. I don't need a ton of details to get an idea of what's going on. Also, an economic theory is a stripped down or streamlined version of economic reality. One way to strip things down when simplifying is making assumptions. I've never been a fan of making assumptions. My family knows that. Like, we don't assume things. We try to really figure it out. But in economics, you need to strip down reality and you have to make a few assumptions. So, to simplify the problem, to help develop a theory, economics make simplifying assumptions. There's an other things constant assumption. It's very important. We use that a lot all semester too. So identify the variables of interest and then focus exclusively on the relations among them, assuming that nothing else of importance changes. That other things remain constant. So an example is, suppose you are interested in how a change in the price of Pepsi affects the amount purchased. So we're just going to change the price of Pepsi, and you're trying to figure out how it affects the amounts purchased. To isolate the relationship between these two variables, the price of Pepsi and the quantity purchased, you assume, for purposes of the model, that there are no changes in other relevant variables, such as consumer income, the price of Coke, the average outdoor temperature. Okay, those are all simplifying assumptions. So we're not going to talk about the temperature, because we all know if it gets really hot, people are going to buy more Pepsi. If it gets really cold, people are going to buy less Pepsi. We have to simplify things and take that out. So economists also make assumptions about what motivates people, how people behave. These are called behavioral assumptions. Very important. Perhaps the most basic behavioral assumption is that people make choices based on self-interest. And that's what I put right here. That's funny. So economists, they believe that people make assumptions about based on self-interest. So economists that make assumptions about what motivates people, how people behave, they are called behavioral assumptions. It's a branch of economics. So if we identify products that are endorsed by famous people, such as athletes or actors, let's explain why manufacturers are willing to pay millions of dollars to have really important people or athletes or actors wear shoes, drive cars, and appear in advertisements. So firms, they do this. They hire and pay millions of dollars to actors or athletes because they expect to increase their sales because of the endorsement. Excuse me. It's a behavioral assumption. We as consumers, we're going to buy those shoes, we're going to buy that purse, we're going to buy that car because so-and-so drives it. You know, it's the whole thing. I'm going to jump higher if I have those basketball shoes on because that really awesome basketball player jumps really high, and those are the shoes he wears. If this famous person whom I admire and respect chooses to use this product, it must be desirable, so I should use it too. It's just a common thing that manufacturers, that people that sell products assume. Okay, moving on. What exactly is rational self-interest? If you can remember, you want to maximize. Let's see if I can get another sticky note out here. Okay, let's delete this one. Okay, the thing that I would always remember here is maximize benefit, minimize cost to you. Okay, that is rational self-interest. Okay, maximize benefit, minimize cost to you. Okay? So rational self-interest means that you try to maximize the expected benefit achieved with a given cost, or to minimize the expected cost of achieving a given benefit. I simplified it with what I just typed on that sticky note. So that's how to just remember it in a basic way. Self-interest often includes the welfare of your family, your friends, or perhaps the poor of the world. Your concern for others is influenced by your personal cost of that concern. You may volunteer to drive a friend to the airport Saturday afternoon, but you may not do it if they need to get there at 5 a.m. The lower your personal cost of helping others, the more help you will offer. So if I pause on this right here, a lot of you just went on a global mission experience. This really, it encapsulates what we were talking about here. If we look right here, your concern for others is influenced by your personal cost of that concern. I know your trip was paid for, but often it isn't for people who want to go on missions. For people that live in the mission field, they're giving up so much. Their personal cost is quite high, but they do that to help others. Your concern for others. Generally, the lower your personal cost of helping others, the more help you will offer. You know, you go into the mission field for a week, that's a lower cost, so you're more apt to do that versus somebody who's going into the mission field, you know, for work, you know, that's what they're going to do for their vocation forever. So, I don't know, just try to make it make sense to you guys. All right, everybody uses theories. So, many people don't understand the role of a theory. You know, perhaps you've heard, oh, that's fine in theory, but in practice it's another matter, meaning that the theory provides little aid in practical matters. People who say this do not realize that they are merely substituting their own theory for a theory they either do not believe or do not understand. This is easier said than done. They're really saying, I have my own theory, and I think it works better. Okay? So everybody uses theories, however poorly those theories are defined or understood. We all use them every day. Someone who pounds on a vending machine that just ate a quarter has a very crude theory about how that machine works and what went wrong. A good theory helps us understand a messy and confusing world. Lacking a theory of how things work, your thinking can become cluttered with facts, one piled on another. A really good theory serves as a helpful guide to sorting, saving, and understanding information. So we all use theories, and I think those are good highlights of that. Okay, economists. They tell stories. I am not an economist, but as I teach this class, I will tell lots of stories, probably about the Shellhammer family. But economists tell stories, and that's how they explain their theories. They explain their theories by telling stories about how they think the economy works. To tell a convincing story, the economists rely on case studies, anecdotes, parables, just like Jesus, the listener's personal experience, and supporting data. Data is really good. It's a great way for economists to tell stories and to get other people to believe their stories better if you have supporting data. And these stories breathe the life into economic theory. Okay, more key terms. You need to know these. So, normative economic statements and positive economic statements. So just remember, normative means should. It reflects someone's opinion. An opinion cannot be shown to be true or false by reference to the facts. There's no data that's going to make a should statement true or false. It's an opinion. There's no basis for that opinion. But positive economic statements, it's the does, the what is. A statement about economic reality that can be supported or rejected by reference to the facts. Okay, positive is supported by facts and data. They don't necessarily have to be true, but it has to be supported by facts. That's important. So normative is a should statement. It's someone's opinion. Positive is a does or a what is, and it's supported by facts. Not necessarily true, but supported by facts. All right, moving on. Learning objective 2, marginal analysis. So economic choice involves some adjustment to the existing situation or the status quo. Everyone has to make decisions all the time. You guys make decisions all the time. Excuse me. So comparing marginal cost with marginal benefit. Okay, rewind a little bit. Actually, we haven't gone through marginal cost yet, so let's define it. So marginal means incremental, additional, extra, one more. That's marginal. Marginal also refers to a change in an economic variable, a change in the status quo. I'm going to pause for a second and go up here. There we go. Would you be willing to help me clean my classroom for 20 minutes after school in exchange for a free pass to a local movie theater? Everyone would shake their head. Yeah, I think I'd do that. You know, that'd be nice. 20 minutes, go see a movie. Your time and your work are your marginal cost. The value of the pass is the marginal benefit. So we have marginal cost and marginal benefit. Time and work are the cost. The pass, the movie ticket, is the benefit. Okay? Now, would you be willing to stay an additional 20 minutes to receive another pass? Okay, 40 minutes, 2 passes. I might do that. Then I could take a friend. How about another 20 minutes for another pass and another? Okay, you see the point here? At this point, the marginal benefit of the additional pass is less than the marginal cost of staying 20 more minutes to clean the room. Like, I would only do it so many times and then I'm done. I don't need any more movie passes. My time is more valuable than that. So the cost is more than the benefit. How about this one? Okay, time spent studying for a particular class or time spent writing a paper and the grade earned. Okay, this table illustrates the grade you can expect to earn on an important assignment relative to the time spent studying. How much time would you spend? What is the marginal cost and the benefit of your decision? If you chose to study for 4 hours, your marginal cost was the extra 2 hours spent studying to achieve the extra benefit of earning a B instead of a C. So you studied for 4 hours, which was 2 more hours than earning a C. So your cost was 2 more hours, and your benefit was the higher grade. Oops. Sorry, going backwards. Don't get dizzy. There we go. So a rational decision maker will change the status quo as long as the expected marginal benefit from the change exceeds the expected marginal cost. The marginal benefit you expect from eating dessert, which is the additional satisfaction, with the marginal cost, which would be the dollar, the time, or the calories. A dessert has to be pretty good and usually homemade for me to consume it, to have the additional calories, because I don't think the benefit is really there from the cost, but that's just me. Focusing on the effect of marginal adjustment to the status quo cuts the analysis of economic choice down to a manageable size. Rather than confront a puzzling economic reality head-on, economic analysis can begin with a marginal choice and then show how that choice affects a particular market and shapes the economy as a whole. Already did that. All right, choice requires time and information. Okay? Time and information are scarce and therefore valuable. Like when you're buying a home, when you're buying a car, when you're choosing college. You need information when you do those things. So you're going to talk to friends, you're going to talk to relatives, teachers, counselors. You're going to go on college visits, take tours, write applications, essays, apply for scholarships. Those are all things that you're going to do to choose for college. For example, buying a home, you'll do some different research. Buying a car, different research. But what's important is information is costly to acquire, costly being time or money. You often are willing to pay others to gather and digest information for you. So if you're going on a trip, you're going to pay a travel agent. If you're looking for a house, you're going to hire a real estate agent or a broker. If you have a special dinner that you want to plan, you're going to look up restaurant reviews. Going to the movies, movie reviews, etc. You're going to pay others to gather and digest information for you. So rational decision makers will continue to acquire information as long as the marginal benefit expected from the information exceeds the marginal cost of gathering it. Okay, what are microeconomics versus macroeconomics? Microeconomics, the study of economic behavior in particular markets, such as the market for computers or unskilled labor. It examines factors that influence economic choices and how markets coordinate the choices of various decision makers, versus macroeconomics, which is the study of economic behavior of the economy as a whole, especially the national economy or even the world economy. How our choices link up with those made by hundreds of millions of others in the U.S. economy to determine measures such as total production, employment, economic growth. So to break it down, micro looks at the individual pieces of the economic puzzle, where macro fits all of those little pieces together to look at the big picture. And we already did that one. Cool. Okay, learning objective 3, market participants. So who's in the market? Who makes everything run? Who makes all the decisions? So there are 4 types of decision makers in the economy. We have households, firms, governments, and the rest of the world. Their interaction determine how an economy's resources get allocated. Ooh, that's a really pretty truck. So let's identify different groups of customers who might choose to purchase the truck. Okay, who chooses to purchase that truck? Okay, yep, we've got private consumers like you and I. I'm not buying that truck. I can't fit 3 kids in it, but let's put that right over there. So we have private, capitals. Private consumers. Who else would buy that truck? Okay, let's think about it. Government agencies can buy that truck. Okay, if they need something, to haul something, a working truck, a government agency could buy it. Excuse me. A business could buy that truck. Or even a foreign nation. Okay, we do export things, not often, but we do. So a foreign nation could buy that truck. Those would be the different groups of consumers who might choose to purchase that truck. Okay, it's a pretty sweet truck. Excuse me. So 4 types of participants. Households. What is a household? So as consumers, households demand the goods and services produced. As resource owners, households supply the resources to produce goods and services. So that's us. We're consumers. We demand goods and services, and we also have resources, usually our labor, to supply we are resource owners, and we supply resources used to produce goods and services. Like I said, usually our labor. And then right here I said these three, that'd be these three. They demand the resources that the households supply. So firms, governments, and the rest of the world, they demand the resources that households supply. Then they use these resources to supply the goods and services that the households demand. So we have firms, governments, and the rest of the world. They are foreign households, foreign firms, foreign governments that supply resources and products to the U.S. markets and demand resources and products from the U.S. markets. We'll get into this again in just a second. Markets. What are markets? Markets are the means by which buyers and sellers carry out exchange. They determine price and quantity by bringing together two sides of an exchange, supply and demand. People want to buy something, people want to sell something, so they do so in a market. It's not really a physical thing all the time, but markets can involve other ways for buyers and sellers to communicate. It can be a physical place, like a supermarket, a department store, etc., or not a physical place, like the stock market, talking on a telephone, having bulletin boards, classified ads, internet, Craigslist, stuff like that. So markets provide information about the quantity, quality, and price of products offered for sale. Goods and services are bought and sold in product markets. Resources are bought and sold in resource markets. There is also the labor or the job market. So we have all product markets, research markets, labor or the job market. That's where we exchange goods and services. Okay, this one is sort of complicated, so I need you to chill for a second and take your time and read through it. This explains everything we've been talking about. So economic decision makers interact in a circular flow model and describe flow of resources, products, income, and revenue among economic decision makers. So we have households. So viewed from the household ends, households supply human resources and natural resources and capital goods to firms through resource markets. Okay, right there. In return, households demand goods and services from firms through product markets, shown in the upper portion of the figure. So we demand goods and services from product markets going this way, to households. And we supply human resources, natural resources, capital goods to firms. Viewed from the business end, firms supply goods and services to households through product markets, right there, supply goods and services through product markets, and firms demand human resources, natural resources, and capital goods from households through resource markets. So it's circular. The flows of resources and products are supported by the flows of income and expenditure, by getting money and spending money. So it's the flow of money. Okay? And that is right there. Oh, we're going to slide through these things a little bit. So first of all, the supply and demand for resources come together in resource markets to determine what firms pay for resources. These resource prices, being the wages, the interest, the rent, the profit, flow as income to the households. Okay, the supply and demand for products come together in product markets to determine what households pay for goods and services. The prices paid for goods and services flow as revenue to firms. I'm going to back up again. This is our last slide, so take your time and look through it. Excuse me. So I'm going to repeat that last thing again. The supply and demand for resources come together in a resource market to determine what firms pay for resources. So here we have expenditure. So they buy products, which is revenue from the firms. And the firms pay, which becomes income for the households. Okay? So the yellow is really the flow of money, and the blue is the flow of resources and goods and services. I hope that makes sense. And that's it for today.